Some mysteries don't begin with a scream. They begin with something simple, something ordinary, a sound, a shadow, a habit that doesn't make sense, until it does. Welcome to Epic Story Hub, where we bring you stories that challenge what we believe and stir something deep within us. Tonight's story is about loyalty, instinct, and the chilling truth behind the dog that barked at the empty corner every night. It began in a quiet suburban neighborhood in a house that looked like every other. White walls, a trimmed lawn, a mailbox that leaned slightly to the left. It belonged to a family of four: Michael, his wife Anna, their young daughter Lily, and their German shepherd Max. Max was no ordinary dog. He was intelligent, alert, and fiercely protective of his family. He had grown up with Lily, watching over her crib, following her to the bus stop, sleeping outside her bedroom door. He barked at strangers, wagged his tail at friends, and knew the rhythm of the household as well as anyone. But then one evening, something changed. It was just past midnight. Michael was working late in his study, Anna was asleep upstairs, and the house was silent, except for Max. He stood in the living room, ears pricked, fur bristling, staring into the far corner of the room. And then he barked, not his usual bark, not playful or warning. This was different, low, sharp, relentless, directed at nothing. Michael walked out, confused. "Max? What is it, boy?" He looked at the corner. It was empty. Just a blank stretch of wall where two sides of the room met. No window, no furniture, no shadows, nothing. He calmed Max down, patted his head, and led him back to his bed. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, same place. Max planted himself in the living room, stared at the corner, and barked furiously. His teeth bared, his tail stiff. He refused to move, and it didn't stop. Night after night, always at the same hour, Max returned to that corner and barked as if the most dangerous intruder stood right there in the darkness. At first, the family laughed it off. Dogs had strange habits. Maybe he heard mice in the walls or smelled something outside. But as days turned into weeks, the barking grew worse. Max no longer just barked. He growled, he whined, he snapped at the air in front of the corner. Sometimes, his body would tremble, his hackles raised as if something unseen towered over him. And soon, the family began to feel it too. At night, the living room grew colder. The corner itself seemed darker, as though the shadows there were heavier than in the rest of the room. Sometimes Lily would wake up crying, saying she heard someone whispering in her ear, even though her room was upstairs. Michael and Anna tried everything. They checked for leaks, pests, faulty wiring. Nothing explained it, and yet Max never wavered. Every night, he returned to that same corner. Every night, he barked at what no one else could see. The family was about to discover that Max wasn't just barking at nothing, he was protecting them from something. Something that had been in the house long before they moved in, and it wasn't going to stay hidden much longer. At first, Michael tried to rationalize it. He told himself Max was just being territorial, reacting to the faint noises of the house, settling or the hum of pipes in the walls. But deep down, he knew it was more than that. Max's behavior wasn't just noise, it was instinct. His stance when he barked at the corner was defensive, protective, as if he was shielding his family from something none of them could see. The family's nights grew restless. Every evening, as the clock neared midnight, Max would stir. His ears would prick up. His gaze would drift toward the corner of the living room. Then, like clockwork, the barking began. One night, Anna decided to film it. She wanted to show Michael proof, not that she doubted him, but because she hoped the video might help them understand. She sat on the couch with her phone ready. At exactly 12:07 a.m., Max stiffened. He rose from his bed, walked slowly to the living room corner, and began barking furiously. Anna zoomed in on the empty space, whispering nervously, "What do you see, boy?" Suddenly, Max growled, his teeth flashing. His body lunged forward, as if something had moved toward them. Anna's heart raced. She ended the recording and rushed upstairs, shaken. When they replayed the video the next morning, there was nothing unusual at first. Just Max barking at the corner, but at the 47-second mark, the screen glitched. For a single frame, a shadow appeared. A tall, crooked figure stretching unnaturally across the wall, then gone. Michael froze the video, rewound it, played it again and again. The figure was there, faint, but undeniable. That night, Max refused to eat his dinner. He sat instead by Lily's door, blocking it with his body, ears perked. Lily was only 6, too young to understand the weight of what was happening. But she had begun to wake up screaming. When Anna asked her what she dreamed about, Lily whispered, "The man in the corner." Those words made Anna's skin crawl. The disturbances grew stronger. Lights flickered without reason. Doors creaked open by themselves. Sometimes at night, the family would hear footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the living room, only to find Max already there, barking. Into the shadows. One evening, when Michael was home alone, he decided to test it for himself. Midnight approached. He turned off all the lights, sat in the living room chair, and waited. His heart thudded in his chest as the minutes ticked by. At 12:07, the temperature dropped. His breath turned white. Max rose and padded toward the corner, growling low in his throat. Michael squinted into the shadows, and then, for the first time, he heard it. A whisper. A faint, hissing voice curling through the silence. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Cold. Angry. The hairs on his neck stood up. He stood quickly, flicked on the light, and the sound vanished. Max barked once more, then fell silent, still staring into the corner. From that night on, Michael stopped denying it. Something was in the house, something tied to that corner, and Max, their loyal guardian, was the only thing keeping it at bay. But the question that haunted them all was simple. How long could Max hold it back? After weeks of torment, Anna insisted they could no longer ignore it. Something was inside. The house and Max's nightly battles were proof. Michael agreed, though reluctantly. They began digging into the house's history, speaking to neighbors, searching old town records. What they uncovered chilled them. The house had once belonged to a man named Harold Grayson, decades earlier. Harold was reclusive, strange, and often the subject of gossip. He lived alone after his wife mysteriously vanished, and neighbors claimed to hear violent arguments inside the home. Then one night, Harold disappeared. His body was never found, but whispers spread that he had died inside the house in the very corner of the living room after losing his mind. Some said he had practiced dark rituals, summoning things no one should summon. Others believed his soul never left. The records showed one more thing. Every family that had lived in the house since had moved out within a year. Strange noises, shadows, accidents. The house had a reputation, and the Graysons had been its darkest chapter. When Michael read the final report, his stomach turned. The coroner who investigated Harold's disappearance noted something odd about the living room. Wall scratches, claw marks, words carved into the plaster. And when Michael read the transcribed note, his blood ran cold. It said, "Do not stay. The corner is mine." That night, Michael and Anna sat in the kitchen whispering about moving. They would sell the house, take the loss, and leave. But Max, lying nearby, growled low. His eyes were fixed on the living room. Midnight was near. The air thickened. The shadows in the corner seemed to bend, growing darker, heavier. Lily stirred upstairs, crying in her sleep. Michael grabbed a flashlight and Anna clutched Lily's favorite blanket. The family huddled together, watching Max. At 12:07, the barking began, fierce, relentless. Max stood tall, teeth bared, as if facing an intruder no one else could see. The whispering returned. Louder this time. Angry. Mocking. The corner pulsed with shadows. And then, something stepped out. Not fully visible, but there. A figure tall, crooked, its face hidden in the dark. The temperature plummeted. Glass. Rattled, the lights flickered violently. Anna screamed, clutching Lily, who sobbed into her chest. Max didn't back down. He lunged forward, barking, growling, snapping at the shadow. The figure recoiled slightly, as if pushed back. The dog pressed harder. Every ounce of his strength poured into defending his family. The shadow hissed, a guttural, inhuman sound. The lights shattered. Darkness swallowed the room. Only Max's growls and the family's frantic breaths filled the air, then silence. When the lights flickered back, the shadow was gone. The corner was empty. But Max lay on the floor, still, his chest rising shallowly. He had given everything in that moment, everything he had, to drive it away. Anna knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face. Michael's hands trembled as he stroked Max's fur. The loyal shepherd looked up at them, eyes tired but calm, as if to say, "It's safe now." With one final breath, Max closed his eyes. The house was quiet. The corner, though still dark, no longer pulsed with menace. Whatever had lingered there had been forced out. By a dog's loyalty. By love stronger than fear. The family moved out weeks later. They never returned, but they never forgot. And sometimes, on quiet nights, Michael swore he could still hear it. Not whispers, not shadows, but the faint sound of barking, a guardian's echo, keeping them safe forever.